Welcome to the latest teaming up from the Hodges Partnership. In this episode, Paulyn and Michaela discuss shiny objects for 2023, including Be Real, Twitter, Reddit, ChatGPT, and TikTok's new shopping feature. Enjoy the show.
Hey, Michaela, how are you doing?
Hi, Paulyn. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. This is an exciting episode we have coming up today, talking about the shiny objects for 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always exciting to see what we think about it now, and then at the end of the year, reflect on our thoughts at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we are at the end of the year after this. All right, so we're talking about shiny objects today, and it's sort of a timely topic for us because normally at the beginning of the year, there are all these trend pieces that come out talking about the trends and new things for the year. And we're also doing this episode because it's just kind of our job to be aware of what's happening and noting the shifts and changes and emerging tools that are coming out. Things change so often when it comes to social media. And where people are getting their news and how to get their attention. So we're just going to sort of share what's on our radar right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got a list and I've got a list, and we're just sort of going to go back and forth and do a lightning round of the things that are on our radars right now.
Yeah, and we're going to start off with Be Real. So I'll talk about Be Real for a little bit. So it's a photo sharing app that was founded in 2020, so it's pretty new. The idea behind it is to connect with your friends without thinking about followers, likes, and filters on your photographs. It's kind of like the anti-Instagram, I think it wants to think of itself as. So at some point of the day, users get a notification you take a photo using your back camera and your front-facing camera, so your followers can see what you're doing right at that moment. As of this month, actually, Be Real has been installed over 73.5 million times worldwide, and last year it was Apple's top iPhone app of the year. And some efforts have been made by its competitors, like apps like TikTok, launching features that are very similar. So people have, heard how popular it is and tried to copy that. Something that's really interesting to me is since the app's been launched, it really hasn't had any major updates. Which is kind of refreshing when we see Instagram and other platforms constantly making updates, which, can be good, but it's constantly trying to be everything for every different user. And we know this is a favorite with Gen Z because they prefer authenticity to online brand advertising. And for brands, this idea of authenticity isn't really new. I think we've seen that for a while. But I think one thing that is interesting with Be Real is its users aren't served ads when they're on Be Real, seeing their friends' pictures and everything. In fact, its policy actually forbids ads altogether for now. And a few ways that brands can use Be Real is by building an online community, kind of feeling like, exclusive, giving followers an inside look at the company, maybe behind the scenes or with employees. And of course, running promotions. We saw this last year with Chipotle. They leveraged Be Real as part of its campaign, giving customers a chance to win a free burrito if they posted a Be Real photo in a costume at the restaurant. And some other brands we've seen use it are Elf Beauty, Trident, Sour Patch. And so keeping in mind that this is essentially kind of free exposure, free advertising for these brands. So I think it'll be interesting to see throughout this year into next what Be Real does as far as charging companies to either be on Be Real or advertise. Because if something with that does change, it'll essentially change the user experience altogether. So while it's definitely not a place, I think, for every brand to utilize, it could be a good time for brands to kind of get creative without being overly promotional and to try it out while there's no they don't have to pay for anything right now.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how their monetization model changes for them because, they're going to have to make money somehow to keep the app going.
At some point.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, are you following any brands personally on Be Real? I think you're on Be Real, right?
I am. And no, it's just my friends right now. I didn't ever think, but apparently people do, because I was also seeing that some of those brands are actually capped out at followers. Because I think you can only have so many followers. So,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah.
So, a great time for brands to join when the stakes are low, as far as like you don't have to have a whole lot of followers, there's no pressure to
Exactly.
be overly promotional or do ads or anything. So, that's very interesting. I'm going to dive into my thing, which is Chat GPT, which is, I feel like, the hot topic for literally everybody right now. Everyone's talking about it. But for listeners who might not know, Chat GPT is a language model developed by OpenAI. It's essentially a chatbot that is designed to mimic human conversation and language. So it can be used to answer questions, write articles or blogs, it can translate language, and it can even apparently write code. It was launched in November of 2020, so very new still, only a few months old. And by December 4th, it already had over 1 million users. And then as of January of this year, it had over 100 million users. So it's just pretty crazy how fast it's grown. I think the implication for marketers when it comes to ChatGPT is that AI and language models like it are going to work their way eventually into various facets of our industry. And they have already. I've seen tools online like Copy AI that will write your social media copy for you. You can just plug into the platform the topic you want to cover and sort of some of the main points you want to make. You can even tell it what kind of tone you want to write the copy in,
Wow.
and it'll spit it out for you. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So there's that. And then I've also seen some brands using it. One of the brands that people are talking about is Snapple. I don't know if you've ever had a Snapple. I have. But you know how on the inside of the cap there's like a little factoid that they print in there? Yeah, so Snapple has launched this tool online where people can just go to the website and type in a topic, and it'll spit out a little factoid about that topic, and you can have that printed on the underside of a Snapple cap, which is cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. The other thing that Snapple did when it launched that is it used ChatGPT to actually write the press release about it. So I thought that was a really cool way to sort of really lean into the sort of novelty of this campaign. One of the other things I wanted to bring up while we're talking about ChatGPT is this insane article that I saw last week from the New York Times. A tech reporter for the Times, Kevin Roose, was testing out a new version of Bing, the search engine, which actually uses a model language developed by OpenAI, the same people that do ChatGPT. But anyway, in this story, the reporter, Kevin, he ends up having this 2-hour conversation with the chatbot in which we learn the chatbot's name is Sydney. And the conversation over 2 hours just kind of meanders, and it becomes very unsettling at times. Like it gets to the point where the chatbot is telling Kevin that she loves him. And Kevin's like, oh, no, I'm married. I'm happily married. And she's like, no, you don't really love your wife. You love me and you want to be with me. And it's just such a wild story. So crazy. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's very much like that, like straight out of a sci-fi movie. It's so crazy. So if people haven't yet, I really encourage everyone to go and read that article in the Times, and then also listen to, they did a follow-up interview with Kevin on the New York Times' podcast, The Daily, in which he talks about the whole experience. It's just so fascinating.
I saw a lot of different arguments for that, or a lot of responses. Some people were saying, oh, this is just AI, like don't get overly excited about it. And some people being like, this is kind of creepy. And I think one thing to think about is all of this technology, it'll quickly even get smarter. So
yeah, Yeah, I think the answer that Microsoft gave in response to Kevin's interaction with the chatbot is that it was sort of like an anomaly, and it was like pushing the limits of the programming language, and so I guess it didn't. The program didn't really know how to respond, and so as he was sort of digging deeper and deeper, the answers just got more and more crazy, right? So that's something that they're working on clearly, but interesting to see what'll happen next with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to tell us what's next on your list?
Yes. Well, as opposed to something that came out in 2020, we're going to talk about Reddit, which came out in 2005, when I think some people were just, getting on the internet. So Reddit, for those listeners who don't know, is a social network with a forum-style discussion structure with topic-based communities, and these are called subreddits. And people can really socialize anonymously if they choose to. It has 420 million users. This is 20% higher than the population of the United States, which kind of blew my mind. And it receives more traffic than Amazon with over 1 billion monthly unique visitors. For marketers, I think it's important to keep in mind that Reddit focuses on community building and online discussion rather than highlighting individual profiles or specific content. And similar to Be Real, it's focused really on authenticity. And brands can use Reddit for social listening by capturing mentions or keywords for your brand if people are talking about your brand. But I think Reddit in this space is relevant right now because brands are going to rely less on major platforms for paid ads. And smaller platforms like Reddit allow for really specific targeting and building connections with your audience and really give a better bang for your buck. It allows for self-serve ads, which only have a $5 minimum. So you don't have to have a huge advertising budget to go and advertise on Reddit. And you can even target ads to specific subreddits. So if you want to advertise to hikers or beauty or gamers or anything like that, you can find those communities. One company we see promoting content well on Reddit is Toyota. For one promoted post, they shared a video-based post in the Formula One subreddit, which I did not know, but it's a race car, so I've learned something.
You and me both. So I don't know anything about Formula One racing.
I didn't either. So even though this was promoted content, Toyota still focused on telling a story about racing rather than more of a promotional, like this is our, RAV4 or whatever, and talking about the features of a car. Another brand, which I thought was really neat, was Ally Bank. They targeted people who love video games, which seems like kind of a stretch, but to connect the two topics, they created an ad or promoted post with an analogy. You wouldn't settle for a 1-star controller, so why settle for a 1-star bank? So really finding
that's so clever.
Connection. Yeah, I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, I think Reddit, for us too, it's on our radar because we're hearing clients ask us a lot more and more about it as an alternative platform to be on. Mm-hmm. I think the listening component that you mentioned is really key for them because, there are listening tools on like social management tools that we use, or like Falcon.io has its own sort of like listening tool. Sprout and Hootsuite all have their own sort of listening tool. But I think that Reddit gets to that super authentic piece of what a brand's target audience is really talking about online. And that's a great place to mine for content. It's a great place to mine for product ideas or like updates you want to make to your product. So I think that's why we're seeing, again, like you said, Reddit started in 2005. It's nothing new, but for us, it's like a new way to connect with audiences and using it in a new way that we hadn't thought of before.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So similarly, the next thing on my list is also not a new thing by any stretch. It's Twitter. But I think we wanted to include this on the list because there's just so much happening, obviously, over there right now with Elon Musk having bought the app and taken over. And so people are always asking us, like, what's the latest with Twitter? What's going on? What should we do about it? And for right now, anyway, the latest is that Twitter is still a hot mess. Elon Musk is making wholesale changes to the algorithm that basically benefits only him. The latest that we're seeing is that the change that he made resulted in users being seeing his tweets first at the top of their timeline, because he made some offhanded comment that he was worried about his engagement falling. So he had the engineers change up the algorithm so that his tweets would appear in more users' timelines, and that's where we are. So if that gives you any indication of how things are going over there, I think it's safe to say that it'll still be a while before we see any sort of return to normalcy on that platform, so long as he's still at the helm. But some other Twitter updates that we've been seeing and keeping our eye on is that it's now allowing cannabis ads on the platform, which is the first social platform to allow that kind of advertising. So, great if you're a cannabis brand. And then the other update that I saw is that it's recently rolled out 4,000 character tweets, but that feature is only available if you're a Twitter Blue subscriber. So for those who don't know, I'm sure lots of people do, but just, for the sake of explaining, Twitter Blue is the paid subscription that gives you that blue verified check on your account. And then it also gives you access to early features such as this 4,000 character tweet thing. So, things seem to be changing day to day over there. I'm sure there will be much more changes to come as we go through the year. So we're just going to keep an eye on things as they progress.
It really is week by week, month by month with that. So
yeah, for sure. At the whims of Elon Musk.
Yeah.
You want to tell us what's next on your list?
Yeah, I think just one other thing that seemed kind of important as far as, especially with retail, is that in the last few weeks, TikTok has launched it's still in the early phases, but it launched shop features. So it keeps you in the app instead of taking you to the browser, which is, I think, great for the user. But it's definitely capitalizing on that hashtag TikTok made me buy it trend, which I've personally seen. Maybe this is just my algorithm. I've seen with a lot of beauty items.
No, I get those ads and that content too. Me and you both.
So it'll be interesting, how brands across industries, if this continues, if there's longevity in this for TikTok, across industries will utilize it. And it also is coming when Instagram is kind of stepping away from some of its shopping features. So we'll see what happens there in the coming year.
I'm curious to know, have you ever purchased anything off of Instagram or an Instagram ad
Absolutely.
you come across? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who hasn't, right? I just feel like the targeting is so good on Instagram. Like, they really know me. Like, especially if you look at something online, like on your web browser, and then the next time you open up Instagram, like you get an ad for that thing. Like, I don't know about you, but as somebody who works in this space all the time, when I get those notifications from the app that's like, do you want this app to track your data and your usage across other apps and devices? I'm like, yes, please, because I want to be I want to be served targeted content. It's just the day and age that we live in, and it's, I don't know.
Well, and sometimes it takes a couple times I see something. I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll take a couple times, and then I make really purchases that I really like. And it is really ease of use. It can take you from you seeing what you want to purchasing in basically 3 pages instead of what can be often a 5 or 6. You're going outside of the app and stuff. So
absolutely, I 100% agree with that. The ease of shopping on Instagram is so convenient, especially with Apple Pay. I've got all my credit card information saved, so it's just a few clicks, and it's already got my address saved and my credit card info saved. But I'm a serial online shopper, and I know not a lot of people are about that, but I am. Well, this was a fun episode. I learned a lot out of it, so thank you for that. And yeah, I guess we'll sort of keep an eye on the things we talked about and see if maybe we'll do an update episode later in the year and see where we are.
that would be great. Thank you, Pauline.
All right, I'll see you later.